My name is Benjamin Brafman. I'm a criminal defense lawyer practicing in New York, and I subscribe to The Real Deal. I grew up in Brooklyn, then in Queens, and I'm still growing up. I was into athletics as a kid and mischief and fighting. I had every job that you can possibly imagine. I spent 4 weeks as a stand-up comedian in the Catskills, and I was a big hit because I spoke to the people about the horrors of the hotel that they were actually paying to stay at, and I thought, wow, this is great. Maybe I'll become a comedian in life, because I thought it was easy, and I was wrong. I think having a sense of humor can sometimes be helpful, but you have to know when to be funny and when not to. Unlike most professions where nobody else really cares about what you do, I'm sort of a novelty because I'm in the newspaper and I'm on television, and the people I represent sometimes are high profile and in the news, and sort of like, when someone drowns at the beach, there's 2,000 people who try and look and see and push, and it's sort of morbid curiosity. It's sort of a strange form of voyeurism, and I don't like it. The victories that people write about more often, again and again and again, the acquittal of Puff Daddy, the acquittal of Peter Gatien, the dismissal in the Dominic Strauss con case, all of those rank way up there in some of my most notable moments. Puff Daddy is one of the most interesting people I've ever met in my life, and I credit him 20 years ago when he was under indictment. He maintained his focus. It's hard not to celebrate with Puff Daddy when he was acquitted because, he is your quintessential celebration expert. So yeah, I did celebrate after he was acquitted. We went out to breakfast the following Sunday morning and had a private celebration. I know he had an extraordinary celebration, but it was on a Friday night, and I opted to go to Temple and not to his party. I think we're friends. He tells me he prays for me and his mother every day. And I'm the only, white guy in the 5 towns who wears Sean John t-shirts on the weekend. I don't think it's hard to humanize someone who's been vilified in the press. I can certainly see myself being able to do it in the case of Harvey Weinstein. I think he's certainly the most brilliant, certainly one of the most brilliant producers in my generation. I also think that there are people who have made allegations who I don't think have been truthful. I think it's very dangerous when someone is essentially vilified, and I think that's when people like me need to do their best work. When you tell me someone has to go to jail, you need to show me proof that they have committed a serious criminal act and that they did it intentionally, and you got to come to me with credible evidence, not hysteria or a movement. In moderation, it's probably, a force for good. I think it helps level the playing field for women who work in industry and in professions and in their personal lives. It helps them go through life without facing harassment or offensive, unwelcome behavior. But I also think that you need to find a point where it gets a little bit nuts. I would suggest that the people stay tuned, that the allegations, for example, of actual rape, when you drill down, I'm not so certain that at the end of the day they come out once all of the facts are vetted as acts of rape. Perhaps 1 or 2 of my closest friends right now in my life are men I met when they needed me, when they were in the eye of a criminal investigation or when they were prosecuted. Charlie is one of my closest friends today. I love him dearly. I think he's probably one of the most extraordinary people I have ever met. And, to be candid with you, he used bad judgment in an isolated occasion 14 years ago, and he was a man about it, accepted responsibility, moved on, and he is now one of the most successful people I know, but also one of the most generous and philanthropic, and I love him, and I'm not embarrassed to say it. And I think if you asked him, I think he'd say that about me. I think Steve is a talented guy, he's a brilliant guy, and residential housing is a very highly regulated area, and you could really get in trouble even if you're an honest person. When you look at what's come out in the last 6 months about the New York City Housing Authority, the city is the worst landlord that anyone could possibly point to. I'm a very strong person. I'm not a yes man. I've dealt with very, very, very big celebrities, and I've made it clear that until the case was over, I needed to be in charge. Some people react better than others to that, because most people who reach such a high level of celebrity status develop a sense of entitlement. I see people sometimes at their worst, but that doesn't make them bad people. There's a huge distinction between, representing someone who is a sociopath and just goes about violating the law, and a person who may have violated the law, maybe unwittingly, and yet they really need someone like me to sort things out.